You're listening to the Urban Sports Scene, Urban Sports Ray Rogers. I'm your host. Check out the home of the Urban Sports Scene, urbansportscene.com, and subscribe to Urban Sports Scene on podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and other podcast platforms. Just search the Urban Sports Scene. Also, make sure you subscribe to Urban Sports Scene YouTube channel. If you're on YouTube right now watching this interview, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit us up on X at Urban Sports Scene, IG and TikTok at Urban Sports Scene, and like our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. Also join our Urban Sports Scene Facebook group. Just search Urban Sports Scene, sports bloggers, sports podcasters, and sports debates. Always laugh when I do that part because I always mess that up. We have a special guest in the building today. And family, let me tell you, it's going to be dope because it's not just talking HBCUs, but maybe a little DMV as well. I'm joined by the head coach of the OVC champion, Tennessee State Tigers. Welcome to the Urban Sports Scene, Mr. Nolan Smith. Let me get you on here, my brother. What's good, my guy?
With you. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. It's great to have you, man. Look, I've been trying to get you on this show since probably your days at Duke. It's been a while, man. So, hey, look, man, all good things. I guess you got to wait a little bit. But like I said, good to have you, man. And congrats on everything that you've experienced this season.
Thank you. Yeah, man, it's been a very blessed year, man. Just been excited to do what we've been doing, but it's been fun just doing it really with a lot of home team, man. Delonte Hill, DeMar Johnson, home team down here trying to represent Nashville. But it's been a great season.
For sure. Speaking of Delonte Hill, I remember we interviewed him early in the year, and me and my guy Wole, he's not here today, but we were like, how is Nolan Smith going to transition to a HBCU? Like we thought it was going to be difficult because you played at Duke, top facilities and all like that. However, Delonte's like, hold up, he used to go down to Central, North Carolina Central during his time in Durham, so that should make his transition easy. And it was right around homecoming. So just talk about that process and how you've acclimated to an HBCU.
Yeah, man. Well, first, I'm from PG County. If you're from PG County, we can go anywhere on God's green earth. We know that. So, being from PG County, going to Duke, I spent a lot of time at Central, right? Like I always joke to everybody, like I'm an honorary Eagle. I spent so much time there on that campus with Dominique Sutton, Justin Lemo, a lot of those guys that were playing during my time. So I mean, just being around HBCUs, my uncle played at Howard. So, like, again, it was always a dream of mine to one day be at an HBCU and do something special. And, that's why when this job came about and, take the job here in Nashville, get Delonte down here, get DJ, get Vince Taylor down here with me. I mean, it was really a no-brainer to come down here and do something special.
So talk about your homecoming experience at Tennessee State, that first one. And your first season as head coach, how was that, man? We heard who was there, man. I forgot what Delonte told us. He said, he said Jeezy was there.
Jeezy, yeah.
Okay.
Man, it was a great time, man. We definitely got to enjoy it and experience it and be on campus. I must say it was definitely going to be up there with some of the best HBCU homecomings. I mean, I've been to GHO, I've been over at Central a bunch. For pretty much all of there, especially their homecoming football games.
I know you've been to Howard.
Been to Howard's. I was younger for Howard's though. I never experienced Howard's as an older man, I say. But definitely just being able to enjoy, be around, just the energy, the vibes. It was a great event, especially you get to see Jeezy. That was probably my Jeezy.
That's showing your age right there.
He's one of my favorite rappers, man. So
that's what's up. NBA YoungBoy was there. Am I tripping?
He was here.
Dang, that's crazy. Yeah,
that was more my players. I think enjoy.
That's what's up, man. When I was in school, bro, I think we had 50, man. That was probably the biggest artist, and that's when he first started popping back in like 03. But your man Curtis Malone, I should say that's family right there. He came on. He was like, he believed Hampton was the real HU, but he said Hampton has the best homecoming. So who's got the best HBCU homecoming in your opinion?
TSU.
Okay, you gotta say that now. That's what's up, though.
Look, we here in Nashville, big city vibes out here in Nashville. So I mean, there was so much going on. Obviously Howard has obviously the same vibes, clubs and all that club scene, but just the energy here in Nashville was fun to be a part of.
So you've had the opportunity to play and to play for and to coach beside some of the greats.
Yeah.
You even coached or played under Lou Wilson, my guy, man.
Yeah.
Still hitting up in Marlboro, Wise High School. Shout out to him. He's
Coach.
also been on this show for sure. And he talked about he knew, like many, that you were going to be successful as a coach. But from the influences and the inspirations, what has shaped you in terms of your head coaching philosophy and identity?
Man, I just think always being a sponge for this game, right? I've been around it my whole life with my dad. I was around Coach Jim Lynam with the Washington Bullets. Man, I can go all the way back to all these coaches that I've been just very fortunate to be around. So my dad, Coach Jim Lynam, you mentioned Coach Lou Wilson. He's one of my favorite coaches of all time. Riverdale Baptist, my sophomore year. Paul DeStefano at St. John's, my freshman year of high school, and then Coach Steve Smith, my junior and senior year of high school, and then I can't forget Delonte Hill, David Cox, at St. John's, and David Cox and Delonte, my AAU coaches with DC Assault. Obviously, Coach Steve Smith at Oak Hill, Coach K, Penny Hardaway. I'm just gonna say all the names, but I'm saying all these names basically to say I've learned from all these guys, right? And at what stage of my life, I always knew coaching was somewhere in my future, just didn't know when. I think every hooper always thinks they're going to play till they're 50 years old. And unfortunately for me, injuries came earlier, so I was able to get into it faster and earlier, starting back at Duke. But a lot of people say he's a Coach K guy, and I am. I've learned most of my basketball knowledge comes from Coach K, but I've been around some big time men, human beings. Coach Lou is one of the best human beings that I get to call a uncle. I text with him all the time, and he's one of the first coaches that really taught me that you can coach with love. Right? There's so many different ways to coach and lead and teach. Coach Lou did it with love. Never really had to cuss you out. He just empowered you and taught you with just his heart and the goodness out of his heart, and really gave you the confidence just to be the best player you can be. Coach Steve Smith was another one of those guys that taught and coached the same way. Didn't use cuss words, just coached and gave confidence and pushed you to be the best you can be. And then you go to Duke, and I'm with Coach K, and he's the ultimate motivator. He's going to challenge you in different ways, and he might cuss at you, but the way he was cussing at you was empowering and made you look yourself in the mirror and say, all right, yeah, do I want to be a first-round pick? Do I want to be a bad – yeah, like I do. Okay, so Coach K just challenged me to get that about me, but he's also motivating me and giving me the confidence to go get it. So I've just been very fortunate to be around so many amazing basketball minds. Most recent, Coach Penny Hardaway. Working with him last year at Memphis. P's one of them guys that just put you in positions to just be a dog. Man, he's always telling me, "Hey, Coach, man, we got to turn these dudes into killers like we were. how can we turn them into killers like we were? Like that's how we was talking as coaches, and then we would go put that to the court and just push these guys to go be some killers."
Hey man, look, I'm gonna go off script for a minute because you answered the question and you sparked something in me. Reading the book Duplicity, Kurt Malone. Shout out to him again. He's been on this show promoting this book, man. Great read, by the way. If you want to go check that out, please go support. But it was a section of the book, I don't know if you read it yet, about just your career and how you really were struggling at one point at Duke.
Yep.
Is that part of what led to your struggles with Coach K, his style, or just it was how you were playing as well as expected on the court? And how'd you navigate that? And how does that help you as a coach, not help players who might be facing something similar?
Man, yes, 100%. My journey was unique because, you go in as a McDonald's All-American and you expect things to be handed to you, right? And in this game of basketball life, nothing's going to be handed to you, no matter what you might think or feel about your game. And for me, my freshman year, I go in and I'm playing behind Greg Paulus and a couple of these guys, and I'm getting frustrated, I'm mad, and I'm not understanding why. Season ends, and I'm thinking about transferring. Right? I'm thinking about, it's not my fault, but Curtis and my family and people around me, they're like, man, you need to figure it out. You need to lock back in the gym with Gary Lampkins, who's my trainer pretty much from college on, out in Oxon Hill, finding little gyms in the cut, and just working, just putting the work in. But that part of the journey just made me the player that I ultimately ended up becoming, because at the end of the day, there's a process to this game. right? And I think that's where I am able to teach from my experiences, that I'm still going to spend time with every player. My coaching staff has to continue to spend time with every player, give them their own individual attention, even if they're in rotation or not in rotation, because if it's not their time, it's not their time, right? If we have something going on right now where these 8 guys are rolling, you're just right there on the fringe, you got to understand that we're still with you, but there's a process to this game. You can't just want it all right away if you haven't truly either worked for it, earned it. Because at the end of the day, me and my staff, if you hooping, you're going to play for us, right? You're going to play. We ain't going to sit you just because you're a freshman or a sophomore. But if you haven't fully earned or don't really understand what's at stake in between them lines, then we have to help you understand it and help work you through the process to be ready when your number is called. So I think that's where my journey has just really helped me understand and coach and teach and lead these young men to make sure they understand there's a process to this game.
Man, great story of perseverance. Like I said, check out the book, and you just heard it straight from the source. That's to me, it speaks of perseverance. That's what I think about when I just see guys like yourself who continue on that journey. And I love for an individual who's talented, who has achieved many accolades, to face tests and adversity, because I think that's what ultimately molds you into a champion. That's what happened with you. And PG County, of course, we got some of the best talent. Y'all seen the documentary. You were part of it. Talk about just that influence. Delonte told us how DJ teaching folks the hands up down in the long crossover. Did you look for that toughness and that grit that shapes guys from this area, in terms of just what you look for in talent and recruiting and shaping just your team makeup?
Man, well, look, our area is just different when it comes to talent, when it comes to how bad do you want it, right? If you're going to make it out of our area and be a high D1 or potential NBA player, it's going to teach you how to be a dog and be a killer. You're going to be in the gym. I know they got the toddler ball thing over at run and shoot. If that's still the name, I don't know what the name is now. I ain't been home in a while. It's been changed 5 to 6 times.
Yeah, I can't think of it. That's not it. It's definitely not run and shoot though. But I can't think of the name of it. It's definitely not that.
I'm always gonna call it run and shoot.
There we go.
But like just growing up in those environments of just being in the gym and going at it with so many guys that I was around growing up, like you either were gonna rise to the top or you're gonna fall to the bottom. And when you fell to the bottom, you're gonna look at these dudes and you're gonna want to keep climbing back to get to where they're at. Right? That's just the competitiveness that our area breeds. And that's where I think all of us have that in us, that if you want to be a killer, if you really want to maximize yourself in this game, you have to learn how to compete. You have to learn how to compete to win, right? And that's where we look for that. Obviously, we were going to recruit the DMV heavy. Our point guard right now, Dante Harris, grew up in Washington, D.C., and he's been amazing helping us lead this team with his mindset and his toughness. But that's what it takes in order to be a really good player, just that mindset of just being an ultimate competitor, a winner, and going for it. And that's what all me, Delonte, and DJ, that's what we know. So if that's all we know, that's all we want to go get.
And for those watching, I'm just telling you, look, it's the same way today. I've been covering high school lately. You mentioned St. John's earlier. They were 14 with like 3 minutes to go in the WCAC championship the other day. Jordan Smith went on a tirade. He's going to Arkansas. Yep. And man, they came back and won it. The DMV is still just producing top talent in the country. And I know that Tennessee State is going to get a lot of that. I hope, I always tell people, no matter what area you're from, you need to come here to recruit, get the relationships with the AAU coaches. You already got the inside scoop. DC Assault starting back up. But I want to go back real quick, just because you mentioned high school, you mentioned this area, man. Who was like the toughest matchup for you when you were playing here in high school?
Oh, toughest matchup for me. I'll just my peers were Chris Wright, my brother, Chris Wright, Lumpy, bad boy, score, strong guard that could get it done all 3 levels. Austin Freeman, obviously Bees and I grew up together. We were always competing. Obviously Ty Lawson, KD, the class ahead of us. And there's so many guys to name. Just on my Adrian Bowie, who ended up going to Maryland. My class was stacked with a bunch of guys that went high major. Darnell Dodson from Roosevelt. just some big time players, you know. So just when you're around that's why I had to duck myself off in a private gym. You know, I never really wanted anybody to see what I was doing until it was time for it to be seen. So, you know, my trainer Gary Lampkins and I go from morning workouts out Oxon Hill to agilities and conditioning out Columbia, Maryland. Then I go home, take a nap, and then we'd all be up Maryland playing pickup. I mean, just the area really just it made us all the hoopers that we are. I mean, you can't say enough about the DMV. And, you know, obviously I haven't been home in a while, but I hope the area is still close. The good thing, we were all friends, right? We were friends, but we were competitors, you know. So when we were trying to get at each other's throat and just pick up games were wars. Pickup games were wars, like scratching, blood, clawing each other, whatever it was. But it got us all ultimately to the NBA and to where we all wanted to get to.
Kenny Blakely, shout out to him, man. I hope you listened to this because he always talks about how the younger generation now, they don't know what it feels like to have to sit out after losing. He's like, man, these guys, they get to play so much basketball, but you talking about just even in your recent days, the wars that you guys had. And shout out to a lot of guys. Austin Freeman, he's at Morgan State. You know, me covering HBCU, see him all the time. Just saw Chris Wright the other day. He looks great. But somebody who's dealing with what he's dealing with physically looks great, has a family, man. It's a blessing. Just like to see all you guys is dope. We're all about the same age. I'm a little older than y'all. So I always look at you guys. I'm like, man, it's a blessing to see y'all made it now to be at HBCU. And I mentioned like high school because, again, you talked about your coaching staff. That includes DJ. DJ went to Parkdale around the time I was at Duval. And you guys are talking about being built to win from day one. That's parlayed, that belief, I should say, has parlayed into conference, a record conference victories, 15 to this point. That's the most, like I said, in program history. An OVC regular season title, first time since 1995. But before you talk about or share some of the ingredients for your success this season, I just want you to highlight how you've navigated and overcome some challenges at Tennessee State. Delonte joked with us about a bat being in the gym and just some of the stuff y'all dealt with throughout the season. How has that been, and how has, again, like your past kind of helped you to navigate some of the resource challenges and just some of the shortfalls that you experienced, unfortunately, at HBCU?
Man, I just think, and what we talk about, man, we talk about being positive, right? No, the resources we have here are not Duke. It's not Kansas State, Maryland, where a couple of my staffs have been, Louisville, right? It's not that, right? But what we have around here are good facilities, right? And we have to be positive. We talk about that with our players all the time. We have a training room, we have a cold tub. So again, we can look at everything. But I tell all my players from day one, it's a blessing to be where we're at. We're Division I basketball players. I'm a Division I head coach. So all we do is look at and talk about the positives, and then we do talk about what we can build. What we can build to make this thing a special place. But at the end of the day, every last one of my players and my staff, we've all been through adversity, right? And that's where we've kind of started to lay our hat on as far as our culture. How do you handle adversity? How do you handle when things don't go your way? How do you handle when you get stuck in St. Louis for 4 days because of a snowstorm? How do you handle a 7-hour bus ride? You got to find the positives in all those situations and battle through them. It makes you tougher. It makes you a winner. It ultimately makes you built to win. When you lose, how do you handle your losses? Do you make excuses? You can't. We can't say, oh, well, we didn't have this, or we didn't have that, or we didn't get eight Under Armour jumpsuits this year, but Maryland might get 12. I don't care. We got 2 jumpsuits this year, and they look good. So make them look good. So at the end of the day, for us as a staff, for us with our guys, we try to feed them confidence. We try to feed them positivity. We try to uplift them. And that's what it's going to be no matter what. When we lost at Alabama A&M, it's next play. Let's learn from that loss. Let's understand why we lost down there. And now let's go to UNLV and win. That's what those were just some examples. That's what we did this year, right? And that's been the message all year. Every loss for us this year has been a lesson. And every time we lost, we bounced back stronger from every single loss, which ultimately has us in the position that we're in now to say we're built to win. Well, you have to be able to look back at your culture and what you're building and say, well, why are we built to win? And I think every player will be able to tell you exactly those things because we've gone through these things. And every time our staff has done an amazing job, the coaches have done an amazing job of teaching the lessons as to why you're able to build throughout a season and get better step by step by step.
Bro, you just beat me to the punch because I was going to ask that you had 3 wins in a row earlier in the year. You started building some confidence. You shot to number 1 in HBCU passes power rankings by Live for Hoops. Shout out to them, of course. And then Alabama A&M happened. And it was like, hold up, did we anoint Tennessee State too fast? So just talk about that real quick because you just mentioned adversity, how you overcame that. What happened in that game?
Yeah, human nature. And shout out to Alabama A&M, their staff. They did a amazing job that game. They came out with a lot of energy. But again, there's stories in every season. At that point for us, we had some early success, right? We had won at Asheville and Chattanooga. So our guys had some success. And a part of being built to win, there's steps to becoming a champion. There's steps to it. And those was one of those early steps early on where we knew that was going to be a very hard game. And we go into it on the road and we basically let down. And again, that's no slight to Alabama A&M. They played their butts off and they deserved to win. But when I looked at my guys, I didn't see the same fire in them because we had some early success and some big time wins. So again, that was all part of the process of us learning and becoming ultimately a champion after you've had some success.
You got 3 guys averaging in double figures, including Travis Harper. Talk about your style of play and just, again, you mentioned being built to win, but how has it been? These guys seem like they bought in from day one, man. That's not easy for a lot of coaches to get players to buy into their philosophy and their teaching style and their game planning. How have you been able to do that? And talk about having those 3 guys and that includes, you mentioned Dante Harris. Bro, in order to win, I was taught in the NCAA moving forward, especially going into the tournament in March, you need to have at least 3 guys averaging double figures, and you got that. Talk about those guys, and then again, just how they bought in your entire roster.
Yeah. Guard play is huge. What you said is right. Guard play is huge getting to this time of the year. But first and foremost, one thing we've tried to lay our hat on is defense. Right away, we talked about that a lot. We're going to defend. We're going to play fast. We're going to make teams play fast. We're going to press. We're going to cause a lot of turnovers. And once we've done that, we establish that defensively. Offensively, we want to play fast. We want to play free. We want to play with ultimate confidence. One of the things I tell my players, I say, I can tell when you're shaking with the gun. I can tell. If you shoot that thing, I can tell if you shoot it with them and you shoot it with confidence, or if you shoot it and you like this, I can see it. So you have to do everything with full confidence, which is why we do a lot of individual work in practice. We get a lot of shots up so that when our guys do shoot the ball, they know they ain't looking over their shoulder. Like if I miss, I come out. No, you shoot with confidence. I'm not worried about it. We got to play fast. And our guys, the ultimate thing that we've really bought in on is playing to win. You can play fast and play free, but are you doing it to win? And that's been part of our journey. Right, we've gotten better as the year has gone on. Is taking care of the ball. We've really cleaned that up. And it's one thing we're always going to mention: value the ball every night. Value the ball. Well, how do we value the ball? We value the ball by getting great shots. If you drive the ball and somebody converges, make the kick. If you try and play through that gap and lose it, well, you should have kicked the ball anyways. And if you do that over and over again, now you end up with 12, 13, 14 turnovers in a game off silly things when you should just kick to the open man to knock it down. We've graduated to a point where now we're sharing. We're sharing the ball. We're playing to win. We're making the right plays. We're finding each other, and we're playing winning basketball. And that's ultimately what it comes down to, and that's what these guys have truly bought in on, that if we play the right way, everybody wins, everybody eats.
Bro, we could talk about so many different things, but for the sake of time, I'm going to end with this. You have a lot of experience playing in March. Obviously, you reached the top of the mountain when it comes to the NCAA tournament, probably the second greatest sporting event in the country behind the Super Bowl. How do you prepare these guys for conference tourney time and postseason where the play becomes more intense? It don't matter what your seed is. If you don't win that day, you go home.
Yep.
How are you going to prepare these guys based on what you've already achieved, but also to make sure there's no complacency and that you want to be playing your best ball, because you are right now. You're peaking at the right time, but like I just said, it could end in one play, game-winning shots, all types of stuff happens in March, man. We love this time of the year.
Yep.
How are you preparing these guys for that?
Well, we've already flushed the regular season championship. We've flushed it. We've talked about it. Now, if it's 100% out of their head, not sure yet, but we've already discussed it, and the guys were very locked in on the fact that, hey, what's next? We're on to the next thing. We're on to the OVC tournament. Everybody's 0-0. Everybody has a fresh slate. Every team has seniors that don't want to go home. Everybody has seniors that this was their dream too, to possibly have a chance to go to the NCAA tournament. So again, everybody has the same dream, same mindset right now. And for us, we have to have that dog in us to where, yeah, we won a championship, but we're not worried about that. We're trying to get on to the next thing, and it's 0-0, 0-0, one game at a time. And we have to treat every single game with our next opponent on Friday like it's a championship game, and then we get ready for the next thing after that.
Hey, well, look, again, I said congratulations to start. I'm going to say that again. Before I let you get out of here, I just want to, first, if you can hang around after I stop recording, I just got to ask you one question. But before that, just let the people know how they can follow you personally on social media, of course, how they can follow the program. Many should know already. Your school has been doing a great job on Instagram and social media throughout the year. It's been dope to watch. But just again, for some people who may be like, you know what, I like what he's talking about. I'm going to follow the Tennessee State Tigers and Nolan Smith. Let the people know.
Yep. You can follow me at n.smitty, NDOTSMITTY. And then our team social media page at TSU Tigers MBB. So definitely give us a follow. Appreciate all the love and support out there. And go TSU.
Now, good luck with scheduling next year, because y'all had some success. Sometimes it's tough when you try to schedule those other mid-majors, and you've been winning. But again, I appreciate you on. Hang tight for me for 1 second. Again, subscribe to the Urban Sports Scene on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, other podcast platforms. Just search the Urban Sports Scene. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, I hope you've already hit that like button. You subscribe. Follow the Urban Sports Scene on X, IG, and TikTok. Just search the Urban Sports Scene. And like our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. Bro, this has been dope. Like I said, it was a little bit of a mixture of HBCU, but also some DMV. So I hope all of you listening enjoyed it. This is Ray Rogers. This is the Urban Sports Scene. That's Coach Nolan Smith. We're out.
Legend